Welcome to We Are Everyone, a video and podcast series powered by Pivotal Moments, and we focus on the intersection of mental wellness in the workforce. We bring together young professionals and mindful executive mentors to bridge the generational gap and bring to the surface conversations about the importance of mental wellness and how to overcome career tradition challenges. Mental wellness is paramount. Join us. Welcome to We Are Everyone in person style. Let's go. We have a very special guest today. We have Dr. Lonzo Sasso of LCS Strategies and Alliance. Welcome. How are you doing, Mr. Doctor?
I'm doing great, Jen. Thank you so much for having me here to speak on your show and share some enlightenment of some of the things that we got going on and how we could help anyone that's looking for these types of opportunities.
100%. So I think what would be really good for us to start off with telling the audience is, how did you what's your background experience? And, we don't have to go into a whole, Wikipedia page of it, but just kind of some, just high level of how you got into this field of education and mental health, particularly, among the adolescents.
Well, uniquely and historically, Jen, I grew up on several college campuses, PWIs and HBCUs, where I saw these experiences firsthand. And coming from a background where both parents and grandparents worked in higher education, and during that time frame, they were the professors, they were the coaches, and they were the mental health therapists at that time. And all those types of opportunities were centrally located into one or two individuals. And now these fields have expanded for quite such a time since the existence of their work ethic when that was going on during the 70s and 80s. And now they're so... The field just expanded, and I became a sponge in those opportunities and found my niche and the desire to help people get from point A to point B, as well as being helping people with education, as well as counseling, and being relatable to help others achieve their goals and making good decisions. So,
yeah, as we see kind of every single generation evolve, right? We have 4 generations of the workforce right now, which is huge. But then again, we have the up and coming, all the Gen Zers, and living in a world where we're in hybrid technology and all these different factors coming at us all day, every day. And I just think something that we've been talking a lot about at Pivotal Moments is mental fitness, right? And mental fitness is something that we have terms like mental health, mental wellness, and those are all very important terms. But mental fitness is more being proactive about your mental well-being. Ooh, right. That was a new one. I love mental well-being. So I was curious, what do you think about the term when you hear mental fitness?
When I hear the term mental fitness, it's a hybrid of mindfulness and kinetic, intentional focus of fitness that needs to take place when it comes to growth mindset, executive functioning, and other mindfulness theories and practices that needs to take place with that kinetic energy, so you can be prepared, have the preparedness skills for the mental wellness to be a continuum. Mental fitness is the preparation. Mental wellness is the continuum of the wholeness of making a person get from point A to point B. Because when it comes to mental fitness, there's certain things that I do. I do a lot of walking. I do some yoga practices. I do some working out. I do some mindful reflections. I do, and I teach people, clients about this and having a growth mindset, so they can have that mental fitness preparation to start their day, so they can experience the mental wellness from that precursor. And so that's what comes to my mind when it comes to mental fitness for preparation for mental wellness.
See, that's actually that's a really good answer, because I've heard a lot of different answers, and I think all of the answers have been very great, but I haven't heard something like that before with regards to the preparation.
Yes.
Because preparation, proactiveness, I mean, being able to kind of wake up, and every day is different. And in my mind, it's like some days you wake up and you're like, why am I in such a bad mood? Now, you can flip it, but sometimes maybe you do need to be in a bad mood. You can't be at 100 every day. And, this is where I tell sometimes clients where we look at data and there's green and there's red. Sometimes we have to be in the red to get to the green, but it's able to have that mental fitness in order to manage the red to get back to the green.
Exactly.
And all about the prep and these different tactics you're talking about. And so kind of my other, follow-up question to this is, how do you, you personally have your term and you obviously, apply that to your everyday, but then how do you take that and apply it to, your clientele, the students, your everyday practice with your business?
So I put a blend of executive functioning skills, mental checklists for each individual client or student athletes that I'm working with the athletic mental health counseling for professional athletes, for collegiate athletes, as well as high school athletes. I put them on an executive functioning growth mindset, and I put a checklist together for mindfulness strategies and mindfulness conversations that I engage with them and other practices that can help them see visually. And I model those tools and put those goals together based on what the gaps are, where the challenges are, where the triggers are. And I put these things together as a script for them individually to go by this model and this platform that I give to you. And then we have follow-up sessions to see how the goals and tools took place. And what happens is they go by the models and practices and goals and tools I give them, and they start to see the progressions based on some of the challenges that they have. And they have that inner outcomes from the goals that we set together. It's not just me, but when they have those challenges and we work those things out through our conversations and discussions, we end up putting executive skills, growth mindset, and mindfulness skills that help them to get from point A to point B for the desired outcomes that they want.
So first off, I look at athleticism and sports as such a great avenue to build mental strength and mental fitness at a younger age, right? I personally, I was the manager of sports. I was, never was a great coordinated person growing up. However, when I spoke to Soroya Tinker, who was on a previous podcast of We Are Everyone, and she's in her young 20s. She's one of the first Black professional women. I think she's a defense woman for hockey, right? And I'm like, Soroya, how did you sound so poised? You sound so mentally fit. And I think through sports, and whether you are athletic or not, I think the concept behind coaching, team, that mental strength you have to have as a team player that could start at any age, is really important as an overall message for all adolescents to have. So I'm curious, do you work specifically with athletes? Do you work with outside of athletes with your work?
I work with athletes. I work with students K through 12. Mm-hmm. I also work with college students for their preparation for surviving their first year in college, making that transition, because there's a mental preparation gap from K-12 into college, and being aware, being relatable, and understanding where the landmines are when you engage with professors, you engage with older upperclassmen on campus, you engage with your peers on campus as well. And there's survival techniques of the whole scheduling process, the whole student life process as well, because there's so many things that happen when you make that transition, and it's about social, academic, and holistic fit that those individuals have to carry out throughout their whole time in existence at the school. And what I always talk about is the 3 A's: adaptability, adaptability, and acceptance. Those are the 3 A's and the tools that I talk about with some of these clients all the time. How to adopt friends, new teammates, new peers, adopt alliances at the school so it can make the school experience easier, how to adapt to the cultural norm that exists, and how you can be relatable within that cultural norm that exists at that school with the social and academic and holistic fit, and how to accept when things don't go your way and things that can go your way. That whole acceptance and being relatable through all of those challenges. So I always talk about those 3 A's all the time.
It's so important because I remember when I was a freshman, and I'm a homebody. You know, I grew up in the DMV, went to Maryland, and I think the adopting, adaptability, and acceptance. Those are like really the 3 things that when you come from high school, which is comfortable, you know, for the most part. Sometimes it's not. Nothing's really comfortable being an adolescent, to be honest. But then transitioning, I mean, there's a lot of transition marks between elementary school to middle school to high school, then to college for an adolescent to deal with. And you don't really necessarily have, you know, perspective, which frankly, perspective is something I learned in my mid-20s. You know, I did, you know, and I just think that's something that's like having that perspective and having that mental fitness, like particularly, you know, then this way you can block out that noise when you are in college and really be true to yourself as you evolve into, you know, as you continue to evolve. I mean, there's 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, doesn't matter what, you're never to your height of anything yet, right? But being able to be in a good mental space to get there.
Exactly, because those 3 A's are so essential to get to the 2 A's that I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, well,
association and assimilation. That is important. Those 3 A's are important for the preparation to the 2 A's, association and assimilate, because once you adapt, adopt, and accept, you can associate better and you can assimilate into the cultural norm that exists.
And then be able to kind of then continue on as you're put in different environments, stay to your primary 3 A's and learn and grow, right? And build on that foundation, but then you're able to assimilate and associate when you are put into different environments as well.
Exactly. Because you're going to run into the 3 C's all the time: choices, chances, and consequences. And some of them can be positive, some of them can be negative. And so having those tools to use and be awareness and relatability, being aware and being relatable for those things, then you will have a positive 3 C's: choices, chances, and consequences, or because of the 3 A's that has prepared you for the 2 A's. So,
and they'll just all keep on building like the alphabet.
Keep building up. And when they build up, it builds into the 3 E's: energy, effort, and enthusiasm, which will buy you excellence. So those are the things that I tend to set as a tool building mark or benchmarks for the clients that I work with, whether you are a K through 12 student or you're an actual student athlete that's a high school, college, or professional athlete, or those who have, venturing into corporate support and semi-corporate coaching for those who are struggling working as a team in public and private sector as well as government as well.
See, what I think is really interesting is that at this moment in time, I mean, if we look at all these things that could be prevented in older life, it has to do with all child rearing and like coming up as, being able to have those tools for success. And I remember, I struggled with learning disabilities when I was, or not struggled. Yeah, I did struggle with them. Now I thrive on them because I use them a different way, right? But even with my mom, who was so, meticulous and neurotic, she still didn't set me up for success in some ways because it wasn't available back then. Like I was in dyslexia camp for a month, and I'm just now admitting that I have minor dyslexia, but it's not to the the extent of being in camp for a month. Like, what other things, what other resources could have been available at the time to help set up? Like, I think mental fitness, mental strength, mental wellness are all things that should be at the core of child rearing. And of course, you want to keep your child alive. That's number one, right? On top of that, though, it's how can this child take care of themselves when they do enter into, this adulthood? And I think these points that you're making are so key, that you think about the tutors that you have, you think about all these different aspects that you give to your child. I think there should be, to exactly what you do, available to everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things with these new social and emotional learning programmatic modules that's being put out now, and through best practices, through research, there's now a new adoption of teaching kids resilience at an early age. And I think that is a very important tool for everyone, particularly with the mental fitness portion that we talked about. That resilience could help be a great antidote of overcoming some of the mental challenges and triggers that we face every day, whether we get to the core of it or not. So, resilience, employing resilience and resilient strategies is very important for people to navigate their best self.
Resilience is something we talk about a lot too at Pivotal Moments. That is one of our big words, because I think all of us, no matter what the age, even if you have a 5-year-old right now with a mask on going to school. And it was funny because I was looking at Melissa Hart. She put this Instagram video up, and she has her youngest would come over today. She's like, "Mom, I wore my mask all day," and she was so proud of himself. And it's like just things like this resiliency in a 5-year-old who, he didn't know, you wouldn't have to know that you have to put something like that on all day. It's just different. But having that resilience of that's the human condition. Right. And I would like to kind of touch on, moving on to another topic in our interview, is inequity. Right. Because I think a lot of people, and I was in an Uber last night going to a closing art exhibit, and we were talking about mental health, and it's not fair in my mind that people don't have, that we look at mental fitness or health as more of like a privilege. And I think that's BS, because all of us, the reason why we're called We Are Everyone, my show and our show at Pivotal Moments, is because we are everyone. Everyone has emotions. Everyone comes from different walks of life, but the access to these resources are not as accessible as they should be. And so I'm curious, within your work, what type of different organizations have you worked with, or what have you seen as access and resources for not just a certain type of group, but for quite frankly, everyone?
Well, I have been an intentional practitioner to make myself available for all. So, whether you are a K-12 school district, whether you are a mental health firm, there's some mental health firms I'm starting to work with at this point. Whether you are a professional athletic association like NBA players, NFL players, Major League Baseball, uh, all of those types of organizations, and expand into those and make myself available to all those walks of life. But however, when you talk about the inequities that exist prior to, yes, you can see that from a data perspective. You can see that from a culture perspective too. But let's go culturally deeper when it comes to the inequities. A lot of times, some cultures had a different belief system of not seeking mental health support and found alternative ways to help individuals get from point A to point B. And a lot of times, those triggers, those issues, and those problems will be buried within. And so, with that burial of issues and challenges, a lot of the inequities continue to flourish because some cultures didn't seek the mental health support. And now, in this day and age, with a lot of the stuff that's happening environmentally and socially right now it's on the forefront of things because now it's such a hot issue that the inequities can't be avoided. And so you have to create opportunities for all to have those same mental health supports and emotional supports in place. And so I'm going to be working with another organization called Life Enhancement Services that's here in the district. That's a very progressive mental health firm that's uh, has its existence here for I think about the past 10 years, and it's expanding. And so they provide some of those opportunities for the communities that may be deemed inequitable to get those services. So that's another outlet of organization that's progressive and intentional. Because remember, these days you have to be an intentional practitioner and a reflective practitioner to help people get from point A to point B.
It's so true. I think that's a very, I think it's also about the stepping stones, right? Because there's a lot of other things that there's a lot of things we need to address. But I think it's a matter of, as I look at the pandemic of, peeling back the curtain of really what's going on within our society, right? We're a global economy. We're all connected. Look what's going on. And we have a lot of empathy and we have compassion, but I think it's the balance of using that compassion because you can sit in empathy for a really long time. You can sit in these feelings. Having compassion is where you take action. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to one of my psychotherapists about this, and I think it's a interesting concept. So I'm curious, what, as we kind of like look at and kind of wrap up some of the conversation points here is, what do you think the future of this industry is around education and mental fitness? And, what are your kind of plans in continuing to work with the future of our workforce and the future of our society?
I plan to be a continuum of being an intentional and reflective practitioner to help people get from point A to point B and make sound decisions and help them from a deeper perspective to get to the core of their triggers that have been challenging them and put tools and goals for them that are winnable outcomes for them to try and to have trust and the trust in the process to help them make good decisions for desired outcomes. And some of the clients that I've worked with in the most recent years, the past 3 years, I enjoy the response of the impact that I have helped someone get their desired outcome, their desired choice, or their win, long-term or short-term, from issues that they've had challenge with. And when they come back and tell me, Dr. Sasso, thank you so much. This is the outcome of what we talked about, your impact and your support, helping me navigate through that situation was so great. That's, to me, most of the time, that's more than money. And I appreciate the response when I've helped someone get to their goal.
Yep. That's beautiful. I love that because it is. That's like what I mean. I always say if I could just have conversations like this all day, every day with impactful people like yourself, Dr. Sasso, Dr. Lonzo Sasso, it would be, my dream. So one last question for you before we wrap up today. How do you practice mental fitness?
Oh, the same things. I come up with what I call the 2 R's.
Ooh, yes.
Rituals and routines. Rituals, I teach this to a lot of my clients, rituals and routines. What worked for you in the past, what's working for you now, and let's put it in a growth mindset and an executive functioning mindset to help you with the tools and me give the counseling tools with that so you'll be on your way. So I practice rituals and routines. And inclusive of that, one of the things that I do personally, now that my surgery's over, I'm going back to that. My ritual and routine is walking from Capitol Hill to your house and back. And that's a 5-hour and 45-minute walk, and it's about 23 miles. So that's one of the things I do. And then sometimes when I'm walking from Capitol Hill to Georgetown, a lot of people call me and ask me for they catch me off guard, but they call me and they ask me for support and help, and it's like, oh, doc, you so on point with what you're saying, because when you do walking and you do fitness skills, it opens up your mind, and so you're more inclined to be so on point and getting those endorphins together. So that goes with the mental fitness that we talked about.
I love that. I mean, as you can see, particularly I do this on purpose. I think in the shot, you can see my Peloton back here, but that's where my meditation is every day. I mean, I'll take off my once a week, but I mean, that 20, 30, 45 minutes on the bike just clears my mind, and that's when magic happens.
Absolutely.
And you just need that outlet. So thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, I think for me, at least now, I'll remember the A's, E's, R's, C's. That's how it's like phonetically. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have anything else to, leave with the audience before we wrap up?
Just trying to help anyone that's seeking this type of support. You can check us out at lcsstrategies.com, or you can contact me personally at lonzo.c.sasso@gmail.com or info@lcsstrategies.com.
Awesome. And we will put all of that in the description and transcript notes on the show. Well, I just want to thank you so much today. It's a pleasure. And yes, bring back those handshakes. Let's go. And we will catch you next time at We Are Everyone. I'm your host, Jenn Sherman, and we have Dr. Lonzo Sasso of LCS Strategies and Alliance joining us today. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for tuning into another episode of We Are Everyone. You can subscribe to We Are Everyone on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and also be sure to visit www.pivotalmoments.org to learn more about the organization. And we also want to hear what mental wellness means to you. So you can follow us on social media, submit your video, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much.